You see light poles like these all over the city, but what you don't see is how badly they shake. These safety tips include only buying what you can safely carry and always having your keys in your hand ready to go, and always being aware of your surroundings. In those 2 days, he's already set goals for the future of Jacksport. He would like to expand the customer base, and he says he can do that in 4 ways. All you have to do with this app is scan the barcode on that specific book. Mr. and Mrs. Walker were one of 8 couples to walk out of this room, room 114 today, married on 11/12/13. But the theories surrounding John F. Kennedy's assassination suggest there may have been another shooter. Mercy will be officially placed up for adoption tomorrow, and you can find her at PetSmart in Butler Plaza starting at 11 a.m., but who knows how long she'll be there. Casey Liening, TV 20 News.
You'll go by and you take this hook and you hook the buoy. And then
Cedar Key's Bud Collins has been fishing since he was 5 years old.
this is what we do, so we love to do it, and this is what we're going to do.
With the start of stone crab season today, Collins is disappointed he could not be out on the water due to boat trouble. He wants to get out and check his traps.
Anxious more than excited, I suppose. Hoping that we get some kind of crabs.
Bud walks this dock multiple times a day just to check his boat, because without his boat, he doesn't have a job, and he says there aren't as many fishermen left in Cedar Key.
It's a lot tougher than it used to be, and there's a lot less fishermen than there used to be.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, mostly because of the regulations and everything and the licenses that were put on people and things like that.
And these regulations limit fishermen to one single fishery. Collins chose stone crab. A biologist with Florida Fish and Wildlife says last year's season produced 1 million pounds less than normal.
Last year was a low landing year. They landed about 2 million pounds of claws.
A normal season can produce up to 3 million pounds of claws. Collins is ready for whatever the season will bring, just as soon as his boat is.
It's hard to say. Well, the only thing we hope is it was better than last year, because last year was pretty poor.
Casey Liening, WUFT News.
It's a weird feeling, having so many fractures and having so many injuries at the same time.
Maria Sayago describes the time she was hit by a car while using a pedestrian crosswalk on 62nd Avenue.
I wasn't doing anything wrong. You know, I was crossing where I was supposed to cross.
GPD is cracking down on pedestrian laws. Not yielding for a pedestrian and not following the crosswalk signs are both zero-tolerance offenses. GPD and several other agencies from the city of Gainesville came together in 2010 to develop a way to decrease the amount of accidents involving pedestrians.
You know, when we have 140 to 160 pedestrian crashes a year, that's way too many. You know, one fatality is too many. When you have 2 or 3 pedestrian fatalities, that's way too many for the city of Gainesville. So what we have to do is we have to remind motorists, remind pedestrians, remind bicyclists, you know, we need everyone to adhere to the law.
They tested a new high-visibility enforcement method that used public education as well as noticeable signs to remind drivers of the laws. One of the most interesting results from this study was that vehicles were more likely to yield to naturally crossing pedestrians when compared to police-staged crossings. Why? Because naturally crossing pedestrians are more assertive and more likely to put themselves in front of the vehicles. GPD says accidents are not always the driver's fault. Sometimes the pedestrians are to blame for not crossing safely. To help prevent accidents, GPD officers are handing out pedestrian safety brochures with every ticket.
Today we might have been, it seemed like, on every corner, which we weren't. But, you know, we can't continue that. So it's up to, you know, voluntary compliance of the law for everyone to understand and follow it. And it makes the roadways safer for everyone to use.
Gainesville's special enforcement program has now been recognized by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Casey Liening, WUFT News.
Damage was back in here.
Webb Barclay describes the rainy July night he was driving home for the weekend.
I was driving, stopped, got to the point where I was like, oh good, I stopped, I didn't slide or anything. Right when I thought of that, I got nailed from behind, about 35 miles an hour, I think is what the ticket said.
His accident happened when he was stopped at a red light.
They hit me so hard it flung me out into the intersection.
But he says it could have been much worse.
I was happier the way that maybe the lights were timed a little bit. Thank God no one was coming yet to have hit me on my driver's side or anything like that.
Alachua County uses traffic counters to measure the amount of vehicles using similar intersections. Transportation Engineering Manager Brian Singleton says right now they're focusing on one intersection in our county to figure out if a traffic light is needed. Taking a look at Northwest 143rd Street and Northwest 32nd Avenue on a Monday around 11:30 a.m. You can tell it's busy and residents are concerned. And you want to see a light put in?
I think eventually we'll need one, yes. Yeah, there's too much traffic and there's accidents every week. Every single week there's an accident there.
Singleton says they're working on it, but money is a problem.
When we don't have staff or if we have a large workload, then annual counts tend to fall by the wayside because we have higher priorities.
These counters cost about $1,200 a piece, but due to a lack of funding, the county cannot afford to replace any that are broken. So out of the 16 counters that Singleton has, he can only use 6 of them, and he says that makes it a lot more difficult.
Right now our counters are pretty old. I think they were purchased in 2000, so they're 13 years old, so they're getting past their useful life.
Though he says this year is a better year because they are fully staffed and are able to do a more accurate annual count. Right now, they're looking at the speed limits on Southwest 20th Avenue, 53rd Avenue, and County Road 241 to make sure they are posted correctly.
We just want to make sure when we do see an actual speed of the road doesn't match the posted speed, we want to get that corrected because studies have shown that an improperly posted road has the potential for more crashes.
Barclay says he can't blame his accident on anything except distracted driving. But thanks to the results of one traffic study at some point, he is able to continue driving today. The annual traffic count is done from the month of August to the month of April every year to get the most accurate count of vehicles using Alachua County roads. In Gainesville today, Casey Liening, WUFT News.